Did you know that you can borrow USD coin against Ethereum?
I did.
First, what is borrowing and lending? Let's say you own something of value, like a house, or maybe you own a castle. Well, that castle house has value, but you can't really spend this. So what if you want to extract the value from that house, but you don't want to sell it? Well, what you can do then is deposit this.
You wouldn't really deposit the castle in a bank. You would deposit the proof of ownership.
And in doing so, the bank would lend you money. You can extract the value of the castle house into cash. But of course,
Why would the bank do this?
because they're going to charge you interest for borrowing that money. You may borrow $1, but you're going to have to pay back $1.05. And that's how they operate. Borrowing and lending, they operate on that margin.
So what's the risk?
Well, if you don't pay back that dollar or that $1.05, they're going to keep your house.
Well, that's cool, TKK, but I don't own a house, dude.
But do you own any Ethereum? You see, the same model exists in decentralized finance today. If you have Ethereum, you can take it and deposit it, and you can borrow money. Or more specifically, you can borrow USD coin.
Which is an ERC20 token you can exchange for money. If your only definition of money is US dollars or whatever your local currency is.
Yeah, but what about that interest rate? 5 cents in your analogy was 5%.
Paying interest is just how borrowing and lending works. And that's another risk. If you borrow money, are you going to be able to pay back the original borrow plus the accrued interest? And so then it's a question of what is your interest rate, and you as a borrower want the lowest interest rate possible and preferably a fixed rate.
Wait, is there a Dapp out there that offers fixed rate lending against Ethereum?
Yes, there is. May I introduce to you Hifi Finance?
Who?
Hifi Finance is a suite of tools which you can find on the website and deep dive into all of the applications and pieces of their ecosystem. Borrowing, lending, NFTs, NFTs as collateral, tokenized ownership of real-world assets as NFTs used as collateral.
So how does it work?
First thing you do is make sure you go to the official site, hifi.finance, and click on the Lend and Borrow tab, which will open up the Dapp where you can see the collateral, which is the technical name of the thing you borrow against, as well as the borrow markets, the borrow market's maturity date, and its APY. APY stands for annual percentage yield, and it usually represents the rate of which you earn when you're lending, which we'll cover in the next video, but it can also be used to represent what you can expect to pay in interest if you hold your debt through the maturity date. Other apps might use the term APR or annual percentage rate.
Can you get to the borrowing part already?
So once you're in the Dapp, you would click on Ethereum, which will show the balance in your wallet as well as the collateral ratio. I'm not going to deep dive into collateral ratio, but the point is this: you cannot borrow the amount your asset is worth. So if Ethereum was $1,500, you can't borrow $1,500 against it.
Why?
Because the lender is assuming that Ethereum might depreciate, or specifically that's the risk they're taking. Because if you give me one ETH and I give you $1,500 and ETH goes down, I don't feel good about that trade. So lenders typically require the borrower to be over collateralized.
But just watch, you'll see what I mean.
What you can do is simply go to the Dapp, click on Ethereum, it'll show you what's in your wallet, and then select how much you want to deposit. In this case, it tells me right up front, look, if I deposit 0.01 Ethereum, I can borrow up to $14.07, which may not sound like a lot. The point here is this: at the current price of about $1,700 in Ethereum, 0.1 ETH, which represents 1%, is about $17, and I can borrow up to $14 of that. Now, I may not want to borrow all of that because of this thing called liquidation risk. The point is I could, which is why I love on their Dapp that it says between 0 and 1407.
Bruh, are you gonna do this or not?
Okay, all right, let's do it. Let's use the Dapp. Now, once you decide how much you want to deposit, you click the deposit collateral button, and what will pop up is an approval to use the vault. I actually failed to record my doing that, but if you've ever used MetaMask,
Which really, if you've never used MetaMask or anything in decentralized finance, you probably shouldn't be borrowing and lending. Not financial advice, do your own research, blah, blah, blah.
The point is, it's a one-time transaction. You approve it, and it's a gas fee like normal. It approves your wallet to use the vault and forever interact with the app with that wallet. Then return to the app, and you can start to deposit some amount of ETH. In this case, maybe I'm going to deposit 0.02 ETH, and it will let me then borrow some USD. Go here, pay a gas fee plus the ETH you're depositing, then wait for the transaction to complete. You'll now see the amount of collateral that you deposited in the My Collateral section. It shows you the current value of your collateral and your borrow limit. Now, once you have the collateral deposited, you can go into the borrow market and borrow. Here it tells you what your credit limit is and how much you can borrow. Now, you might recall I talked about over-collateralization earlier, and this screen shows what I'm talking about. Note that the value of my collateral is about 35 bucks. And when I go to the borrow market, I'm only available to borrow $27.54, my credit limit, which is less than the value of the collateral that I deposited.
Still, pretty cool.
Now, if I were to borrow the whole thing, I would be 100% utilized. So what Hifi has done is added an 80% button because they seem to recognize you shouldn't borrow more than 80% of what you can. So there's this 80% limit button, but that's still in the red. Maybe I want to back it down and be in the yellow, but really maybe I want to be safe and conservative and only borrow 36% of what I'm available to, and again at a 2% interest rate, and at this maturity date. And of course you might be asking,
what's a maturity date?
Well, let's read what Hifi Finance CEO Doug Leonard has to say. All outstanding debt is settled at maturity, so collateral would be sold if there was a liquidity crunch at maturity, and before maturity interest rate spikes would incentivize new lenders to take advantage of the higher rates they would earn. We'll go into lending next time, but the point is this. If you have not paid back your debt by the maturity date, there is risk of your collateral being sold off
or liquidated,
so the protocol can pay off your debt.
Does that mean I lose my Ethereum?
Yes. If the protocol has to sell your Ethereum to pay off the debt, the Ethereum's gone because the protocol sold it off.
But this is just the way borrowing and lending works.
Hifi Finance isn't innovating the way borrowing and lending works. They're innovating by developing a protocol that allows borrowing and lending against Ethereum at a fixed rate, leveraging all the really cool things about blockchain technology that we love and combining that with all of the basic tenets of finance, which is called decentralized finance.
Okay, so are you going to borrow some or what?
Okay, back to the Dapp. Okay, so here you can see I already have 100 USDC in my wallet, and I just deposited 0.02 Ethereum, which means I now have the ability to borrow against it. And let's say I want to be conservative in my borrowing. So even though I can borrow up to $27.54, I'm just going to borrow 10. So I enter 10 and I click borrow USDC. At which point it's going to prompt me to pay some gas fees, which I'll do and begin the borrowing process. And boom, just like that, beautiful, simple GUI. I see my borrow limit is now at 36%, my borrow balance, my collateral value, everything you need to know at a glance. And if we look up in my wallet, we now see I have 110 USDC.
But what if I want my ETH back?
Well, then just pay off your debt. Just go back to the app, click on the borrow market, click on the repay tab and pay what you owe. In this case, you can see I've already accrued a little bit of interest, but I'll simply click max, repay USD coin, sign it, interact, pay another gas fee, and boom, just like that, my borrow limit goes down. I can return to the ETH tab, select withdrawal, select max, withdraw my collateral, pay the gas fee, and confirm. And just like that, my ETH is returned to my wallet. And that's it. All that rambling about borrowing and lending in castle houses, and fancy words like collateral and liquidation, all so I can deposit some ETH and borrow some USD coin.
But wait, where'd that USDC come from?
That is a very good question, and we'll cover that next time when we talk about the lend side of the protocol. Anyway, that's it. Hifi Finance, fixed rate lending against Ethereum, available on mainnet. All the links and information you need will be below. If you got any questions, jump in their Discord and ask. Tag me, Taekwon Crypto. Ask how you get one of these cool PawnBots hats. Take care. Until next time, be safe out there.